Okay, guys, hey, I'm back. So, part two. Okay, so relationships. Relationships take work, they take time, right? Using the best of your time when you are with people. So, like I said, I grew up with my husband in Epsom, New Hampshire. I grew up in Deerfield, Manchester, all over the place. Chichester, went to school in Pembroke, had friends in Chichester. On and on and on it goes, right? Busy, busy, nonstop, pretty much every day. Going to the bow and arrow shoots on the weekends, going to school during the day, doing stuff after school. I mean, just like nonstop. So I had, in many ways, a very idyllic childhood. Had both grandparents in my lives. Um, One set, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, her and my grandfather had their marriage annulled. Then I had all my aunts and uncles divorcing the time I was a teenager. But anyways, I mean I had a lot. I really did. And I really enjoyed, amongst all the chaos and the craziness in my childhood. So, so now I marry my husband thinking since I've known him since second grade, it's a pretty solid choice, right? To marry my husband. Then once I marry him, I see the dynamics of his family. I have a mother-in-law I just talked about in this video calling me a gold digger basically, and I'm leading up to that. Like I have no idea where this came from. My husband and I, we grew up together, as I was saying, with a bunch of people. Money was never an issue. It was like invisible. We never dealt with money. Um, when we were hanging out together later, his 16th birthday, I threw him a party. I invited some friends over. Wasn't even about money. I don't even think maybe they brought him one gift or two. We were just hanging out. I'm putting my glasses in my pocket. We hung out. I mean, that's all we did when we were at work. We hung out together. My husband, I got him his first job at Billy's. We hung out together. Just people, we hung out with each other. Just people hanging out with people. Nothing was ever about money with us. So, I mean, to be a gold digger, I mean, like, his parents were poor, so I have no idea what I would think I'm supposed to be digging when I'm gold, getting gold. So I talk about this. Once I had my firstborn son, I became a Christian, had my second born and my third, and then my mother-in-law starts moving in on me, right? And she's thinking that it's her turn to mother. Grandparenting, the name grandparenting became a tool to step all over me, step all over my husband, and control us, to try to control us. I mean, they really weren't in our lives when we were dating, but now, because they're grandparents, it's like, well, you have to go to this party, and we want you over at this party, and you have to go here, and, come over every weekend, and what are you doing Christmas Eve? What are you doing Christmas Day? We need to come over every weekend. We need to see you every week, on and on it went. And I'm like, there was a point once his grandmother was like, I said no to a party. I think it was John's breakfast. John was my husband's grandfather, and his wife Ruth was like, what do you mean you're not coming to the party? And I'm like, I have other things to do. And she's like, oh, well, aren't you a piece of cake? And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, you're a real piece of cake. She's like, if he died, wouldn't you go to his funeral? Well, yeah, and I did. Well, then why wouldn't you come to his breakfast birthday thing or whatever? And I'm like, you guys have a lot of parties, a lot. And she's like, well, yeah, we do because we're a big family. That's why. And I'm like, well, great, but you know what? I'm choosing a different path for my own family, because my husband and I both grew up with big families, parties. My grandmother had Christmas over her house, and then when we would go to Hooksett, and have parties over there with my great-grandfather. And after a while, it's just like, I kind of need a break. I need a break from all these people. And so for me, having three young ones under tow, I was just like, I need to take care of myself. I need to, have time to take care of me on top of taking care of my whole entire family. So, it was just in the quality of the parties. I mean, a lot of times you go there and it's about the numbers. Oh, we have this many people over here. And there's hardly a, hey, how are you? How how are you doing? So it's just pretty surface, pretty idle. My husband was like, I'm sick of these parties. I've had to go to them since I was a kid and I'm sick of them. So, my husband and I were in agreement. So I got criticized for that. And then I got criticized if, I wanted to homeschool my kids. You're not really going to do that, are you? Yeah, I am. Oh, I hope you don't ruin your kids by doing that. What's that one supposed to mean? What do you mean? How would I ruin my kids by homeschooling them? Oh, you know, uh, oh, I hope you can do it, on and on. So these are the type of families that are toxic. They are. And I did appreciate going there and using the pool. I appreciate the dinners, and I would say thank you, thank you for doing this, thank you for doing that. But there's more important things in life than feeding somebody and letting them come over to your house. It's called relationships. So when I put my foot down, I started getting a lot of backlash for putting my foot down and just saying, hey, we're not coming over every weekend. You want to call me a gold digger because we're behind with 3 kids living in a trailer. We're behind and you're calling me a gold digger. My husband's not making a lot of money and then he had cancer and you're calling me a gold digger. I don't think I'm coming over all the time. And then it was like, well, okay, well, why don't we go to the Boston Museum? So I still did go over sometimes. I kind of tolerated things because by then, I was just like, oh my goodness, you know what? I think I'm kind of seeing what this family is like. And let me see, then it was Carrie on Facebook running her mouth, telling everyone that my husband has a ring in his nose, smearing his name. And I'm like, excuse me, what are you doing, And so she was confronted, but she kept on doing it. And I was like, I don't think we're coming over. So we didn't go over for a while. And then we heard that Scott May had died, which was not true. Then we heard, then we heard Rob had cancer. So I talked to my husband and I'm like, we should probably go over. And he's like, I don't really want to. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? This is your dad. And if he's dying, we probably should. Then it wasn't what everyone said it was. And so I went to a family reunion with them. And I'm like, okay, we'll do a family reunion. The past is the past, clean slate. And then I start hearing some more stuff about me. So up until yesterday, I'm still hearing more accusations about me. And it's just like, it's a no-win situation. You have a family who just wants to tear you up and down. And, I heard all kinds of things about me, and then Donna's going to Care Pharmacy and saying all kinds of things about me. And it's like, this is your perspective. You don't even know me. So why do you think it's okay to talk about me in these ways? So, as a Christian though, and this was my point to my first video, as a Christian, you do sometimes need to take a beating. I mean, there are times you put up the boundaries and you're like, okay, if you're going to act like that, I've got a family to take care of. I don't have time for the nonsense, But last night, I really put some pressure on Kevin too. And I'm like, you want to explain what you're saying? So you call me a narcissist. Donna's the narcissist. You say I don't take blame for anything. Okay, you want to tell me what exactly I'm supposed to take blame for? Because I really don't know what you're saying. You tell me that I'm lying because I said I don't usually email on Sundays. Well, yesterday I was homesick, so I emailed him. So he tried to tell me I'm lying about that. On and on it goes. And this is not how we build people. So I had to, and I have a book on narcissism, and I did this way before. I tend to have a strong sense of self, and I had decided, instead of giving them all this time to put the boundaries up, develop myself more. And that's pretty much what you want to do when you come out of a toxic family. You know, I have a mother against me for some reason constantly. When I was a kid, I couldn't do anything, right? So when I got older, I was like, okay, you know what? You can take my kids here, but you're not taking them here. Oh, I can't grandparent, she says. I can't do anything right with you. And then she goes and tells my in-laws, I can't do anything right with Melissa. She won't let me do anything. She won't let me grandparent. Well, my father had disowned me because I was like, he's like, I'm taking them both fishing. And I'm like, you can take one, but you're not taking the other one for the day because you're not. And I knew why. I mean, he had low muscle tone issues. He had, some issues. And I'm like, he's not going to make it through the day with my father. So my father, I mean, he never even brought me a gift until I had my firstborn son. Then he brought me a gift for the first time in my life, and I ended up throwing it away. It was a stuffed animal, a stuffed elephant that he brought to the hospital. I mean, he didn't really bother with me much until I became a mother. And it's kind of like, you know what, you had your chance. I know you want to be a grandfather now, but you had your chance. So, I got some apology. I wasn't a very good father. And then, I'm going to do whatever I want with my grandkids. And it's like, I don't think so. I'm the mom. You're not doing what you want with my kids, especially with the stuff I saw growing up. You are not going to do that. The abortion, you didn't care a hoot about me. There was after the abortion, there was no discussion. There was nothing. Like, are you okay? So, and then he actually, because my mother said I was dating this guy, she put me in a bad light. So he, took me by the hair, threw me against a pretty solid door, pulled my hair out. The next day in gym, my friend Melinda was like, oh my goodness, Melissa, when I had a huge lump on my head and I was pulling hair out. She's like, that's abuse. She's like, holy cow. So, my mom's like, oh, you deserved it. This is a kid A, B student who never really did anything much to get in trouble. But I did say at that time, because I told her this guy Mike wanted to marry me. He gave me a ring. Oh, you might marry him. And I'm like, do you think so or something? And then she took my phone away for talking to him. And then I was allowed to see him. And then she dragged me out of the video store because she didn't want me to see him. Then she dragged me out of the dance. It was just this back and forth control with my mother. And I'm like, I hate you. That was the first time I ever said to my mother I hated her. And you know what? It wasn't right looking back, but it also wasn't right having a mother constantly trying to get me in trouble and bringing me to go get an abortion, etc., etc. So, so there was just a lot going on. I mean, I saw stuff with my brother, and I'm like, you are not going to be treating my kids like this. Not only my brother, but my brother's stepson at the time, Nathan, pulling him by the ear, doing stuff to him, and I'm like, you are not doing that to my kids. So, you gotta separate. You gotta separate. And hopefully hopefully they wake up a little bit. And then, yeah, I mean, if you gotta stand for your Christian beliefs and you're like, not only are you not going to attack me, but let me tell you, this is what I believe as a Christian. My husband's mother did not want him going to church. She didn't want him, she would poison him against church constantly. So, I mean, you got to take a stand. You have to take a stand, but you can take a beating as a Christian. And as I was talking to Leandro yesterday in emails, I did share the gospel with him. And, he's like, your beliefs are delusional. And I'm like, actually, Romans 6, 1-4 says this. Actually, this is doctrine, apologetics, and he knows nothing about this stuff. So he's very naive. But you want to, if anything comes out of this whole thing, you want to be a witness. You want to be a witness to Christ that, this guy, as far as I know, he's dying. He's going to hell. He's, as far as I know, doesn't have a saving faith. So hopefully, if anything good comes out of any of this, it would be his salvation. And that's where you have to turn around. You have to let someone slap you on the other cheek, because there are people going to hell, and you've got to be able to take some stuff so that they can understand, and pray for them that their eyes would be open, that, they do believe in God. So my husband's not walking with God as far as I know. So anyways, that's what I got for now. Try to, amongst all the craziness and amongst all the up and downs of family life, try to still be a light, because nobody wants to go to hell. I mean, hell is going to be awful. I mean, if I just get burned on a stovetop or something, I mean, I'm like, holy cow, I cannot imagine what hell is going to be like. Or if I take a bath and the water gets too hot, I'm like, this stuff reminds me of hell. It's going to be really bad. And so we don't want anybody going to hell, not even our worst enemy, guys. So I just heard a sermon too. If your enemy's hungry, feed him. If your enemy's thirsty, give him water. So this is kind of how we have to live, even amongst people attacking us and bringing accusations against us and hating us. We have to try to love them still. It doesn't mean you don't put your foot down. It doesn't mean that you don't stand up for yourself, which I've had to do. But we also have to love them and pray for them, because we once walked in darkness too before we were Christians, hating one another, fighting with one another. So as a Christian, this is kind of what you have to do. You have to pick up your cross and turn around and try to still love people when they are persecuting you. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.